Chosen one. Pause for a moment. You did not stumble here by chance. This is not an accident. Heaven itself has reached into the noise of your day, pressed pause on everything around you, and whispered, "Listen now, for your life depends on it." You feel it already, don't you? That trembling in your spirit, that sense that what is about to be spoken carries weight. You are not like the rest. You are marked. You are seen. You are God's chosen one. Think about this. How many times did you almost give up? Nights when sleep refused to come, when silence felt heavier than words, when you wondered if anyone noticed the tears you hid. Yet in those hidden places, you were being prepared. A fire was lit inside of you. One the darkness tried to smother but could not extinguish. Picture a lantern in a storm. Winds scream, les reins pour. Lightning cracks across the sky, yet the flame inside that lantern refuses to die. That is you. The enemy underestimated the one who lit your flame. This is why you cannot take this lightly. A crown waits for you. A destiny presses against the walls of your spirit. And heaven is calling you to rise. Do not scroll past. Your soul knows the truth. You are here because God summoned you here. There are choices ahead. Some paths look easy, but lead to chains. Others look lonely, but lead to glory. One compromise, and the flame flickers dangerously. One bold step of faith, and that flame becomes a wildfire. No power in hell can quench. Consider a young man I'll call David. Overlooked, mocked, forgotten. He worked in silence, watching sheep while others celebrated. No one saw the lions he fought, the bears he killed. They only saw a boy, but heaven saw a warrior. And when Goliath appeared, David remembered the hidden victories. What the world called weakness, heaven called preparation. Your story feels the same, doesn't it? Hidden battles, invisible victories, scars no one clapped for. Yet all of it was shaping you for this moment. Your private pain has been training ground for public purpose. It is written in the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 14. Multitudes, multitudes, in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Willing, you are standing in that valley now. The decision cannot be delayed. The weight of eternity leans heavy on this moment, and heaven watches for your response. This is not entertainment. This is heaven's voice through human words. Every second you remain here is obedience. Every heartbeat leaning closer is alignment. You have survived what others could not. You have walked through seasons that crushed the ordinary. You were misunderstood, rejected, underestimated, yet still you stand. That is proof you are chosen, proof you carry something eternal. So here is what I ask. If this word speaks into your spirit, if you feel heaven tugging at your heart, then respond. Lift your voice in the comments. Declare your yes. Share this so another chosen one can hear the trumpet call before it's too late. And if you have not subscribed, do it now. Not for numbers, but because you belong to a community of marked ones who refuse to walk alone. This is only the beginning. Heaven has more to pour out. Do not take it lightly. Every second matters. Every response matters. And as you take this step, remember, you are stepping into a story far greater than your own. You have been marked by fire. Chosen one. a brand upon your spirit, unseen by human eyes, yet undeniable in the realms that matter most. This fire is not ornamental. It is not for show. It is the evidence of your calling, the seal of heaven's assignment. Others walk through life untouched, but you carry the mark of one who has been set apart. From childhood you felt it, that sense of being different. While others blended into the crowd, you carried an invisible weight. You laughed when they laughed, but inside, you felt the stirring of another world. You were not allowed to be ordinary. Every detour, every closed door, every disappointment, none of it was random. Each moment was a chisel, carving you into a vessel capable of carrying fire. Think of Moses, a child drawn from the river, raised in a palace but never belonging there. He tried to blend in, but the mark of God refused to let him stay unnoticed. One encounter with the burning bush revealed what had always been true. He was branded for a mission larger than himself. You, too, carry that brand, even when you tried to run. Heaven pursued you. Picture iron placed into a forge. At first, it is dull, ordinary, cold, but as the flames surround it, heat transforms its essence. Soon it glows, radiating a fire it did not create. That is you, the furnace of waiting, the seasons of silence, all of it pressed God's fire deep into your soul. Now, wherever you go, the unseen glow terrifies darkness. You might ask, why me? Why does it feel like I carry more than others? Because chosen ones are forged, not born polished. You have been entrusted with a light that cannot be negotiated. To much is given, much is required. And the weight you carry is not punishment. It is proof that heaven trusts you with what others could not handle. I recall a story of a young woman. I will call her Ruth. She worked in obscurity, gleaning behind harvesters, unnoticed by the world. Yet even in her lowly position, she carried loyalty and hidden strength. When the moment came, heaven revealed her identity. She moved from forgotten widow to the lineage of kings. What seemed ordinary was always marked by fire. Your path feels lonely because fire isolates. Not everyone can withstand the furnace you endure. Some wonder why your journey seems harder, why doors don't open quickly, why your waiting feels endless. They do not see the branding process. They do not understand that delay is preparation. According to what is revealed in the book of Zechariah, chapter 2, verse 5, "For I, declares the Lord, will be a wall of fire around her, and I will be the glory within her." Do you see it? The fire is not only your mark but your shield. It surrounds you. It guards you. And within it, God's glory is hidden, waiting to be unveiled. That is why the attacks failed. That is why despair could not kill you. You are wrapped in fire, chosen and untouchable until your mission is complete. This mark sets you apart, not just for survival, but for impact. Wherever you step, atmospheres shift, demonic plans weaken, chains rattle. Even in your silence, the fire speaks. Some are drawn to you, others resist you. It is not about personality, it is about your mark. So, walk with reverence. The fire you bear is not casual. It is the proof of God's trust. Carry it with courage. Carry it with awareness. And know the one who branded you has never abandoned you. Chosen one, Let us uncover what has been hidden. The battles you fought in secret were never random. The nights you wrestled with thoughts too heavy for words. The mornings you rose, carrying invisible weights. The silent prayers that felt unanswered. None of these moments were wasted. They were battlegrounds, designed with precision, allowed with purpose. You see, the enemy is not creative. He cannot see the fullness of your destiny, but he can sense it. He smells the fragrance of oil upon you, and that fragrance makes you a target. That's why attacks often came before breakthroughs. That's why storms seemed to strike just when you were about to rise. The hidden battles have been confirmations of your calling. Think of Job. He did not volunteer to be tested. Yet heaven's confidence in him placed him in a war he could not see. Stripped of comfort, shaken to the core, accused even by friends, yet Job's endurance wrote a story of faith the enemy could not erase. Like him, your secret endurance has written a testimony that will thunder in eternity. Let me give you another image. Imagine a tree in winter. From the outside, it appears lifeless branches, brittle, no leaves, no fruit. Yet beneath the frozen surface, roots are stretching deeper, anchoring stronger, preparing for a spring unseen. That has been you. Others thought you were shrinking, but in reality, you were being rooted. And yes, the hidden battles left scars. But scars are not signs of defeat, they are seals of survival. Every scar says, I made it through what tried to destroy me. You were living evidence that the Lord never abandoned you, even when silence made it feel that way. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 34, verse 19. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. Do you see the promise? The righteous are not exempt from affliction, but they are guaranteed deliverance. That is why you are still here. That is why despair did not win. Heaven has carried you through wars. No one else even knew you were fighting. But here is the turning point. Hidden battles demand a public decision. You can no longer carry the weight in silence. Today is the moment to declare who you belong to break the agreement with fear, to mark the shift from hidden survival to open surrender. I want you to type this simple phrase in the comments. I stand free. And write it boldly, not as empty words, but as a declaration. Because when you name your stance, you announce it to 3 realms at once. Heaven hears it as faith. Earth reads it as testimony. Hell trembles at it as defiance. By declaring it, you are saying, I will not bow to fear. I will not live in chains. I will not let hidden battles define me anymore. Chosen one, this is your moment to bring what was hidden into the light. The warfare has been fierce because the calling is real. Do not shrink back now. Lift your head. Your scars are proof. Your battles are prophecy. And your declaration is the key that unlocks your next season. Every hidden tear has been counted. Not one cry has gone unnoticed. Not one struggle ignored. Heaven has recorded each battle as evidence that you are worthy of the oil you carry. So declare it boldly by saying, I stand free. You are stepping out of shadows and into identity. This is how chains break. This is how chosen ones rise. You are standing at the edge of mercy. Chosen one, the place where the kindness of God stretches wide. Yet time itself whispers that mercy is not forever. Mercy waits, but it does not wait endlessly. The edge is where urgency meets love, where patience stands tall, but justice is not far behind. This edge is not a comfortable place. It feels like standing on a cliff at dawn, the horizon painted with light. Yet the drop below, reminding you of the cost of hesitation. Here, you must decide. Here, you must recognize that heaven's patience is not permission to linger in rebellion. Consider the days of Noah. For years, the ark stood as a warning, hammer by hammer, plank by plank. Mercy was offered, yet people laughed, ignored, and delayed. The rain did not seem real until it began to fall. And by then, the door was shut. The same edge of mercy stands before you now. The door is still open, but the hand of God will not hold it open forever. The prophet Hosea wrote words that pierce through centuries. He revealed a God whose love burns with passion, yet refuses to be mocked. That is the tension of the edge. You are loved beyond measure, yet that love demands a response. To walk away is to step closer to blindness. To surrender is to step into life. Let me give you an image. Imagine a candle sitting at the center of a dark room. For hours it flickers, holding back the shadows. But if left unattended, its wax runs low, and the flame begins to shrink. Mercy is like that candle, bright, protective, covering you in light. But wax does not last forever. To ignore it is to risk being swallowed by night. Your spirit already knows this. You have felt those gentle nudges, the quiet convictions, the whisper that said, "Not this path, not this compromise." At times you silenced it, hoping the voice would fade. Yet it returned, stronger than before, because mercy was still stretching its arms toward you. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Romans, chapter 2, verse 4, "Do you not realize that God's kindness is meant to lead you to repentance?" This is the truth of the edge. Mercy is not weakness. Kindness is not indifference. Every moment of delay has been God's invitation, not His approval of wandering. His patience has always been designed to pull you home, not to give you license to drift further away. And so, the edge of mercy becomes the place of greatest tension. On one side lies grace, forgiveness, restoration. On the other lies distance, hardness, the slow dimming of vision. Archstep matters. Each choice carries eternal weight. I once heard the story of a man who ignored the pull of God for years. He drowned his conscience with distractions, convincing himself that mercy would always wait. But one night, standing at the threshold of a hospital bed, he whispered, "I thought I had more time." That is the tragedy of delay. It convinces you tomorrow is guaranteed, while mercy whispers that today is the day. Chosen one, do not despise the edge. It is evidence that heaven still calls your name. It is proof that grace has not yet stepped aside. The fact that you can still feel conviction is itself a miracle. The edge may feel dangerous, but it is also the doorway to glory if you will step forward, not backward. Carry this truth carefully. Mercy is a gift, but it is also a clock. The edge of mercy is not the place to sleep. It is the place to awaken, to see clearly, to move with reverence before the one whose patience is love and whose justice is sure. The weight you carry is not a mistake. Chosen one, every rejection, every sleepless night, every silent tear has been shaping you. It is heavy, yes, but it is holy. The burdens you bear are evidence that heaven trusted you with assignments others could not endure. You have always carried more than your frame seemed capable of. You bore wounds that no one applauded you for. You stood when others walked away. You listened to whispers from God when the world screamed for your attention. This weight was never meant to crush you, it was meant to prove you. Think of Joseph. He carried the dream of nations inside him while still a boy. His brothers mocked him, stripped him of his coat, and sold him like merchandise. Years of slavery and prison pressed down upon him, yet through the weight, something unshakable was formed. What once seemed cruel became the very road that placed him before Pharaoh. Let me give you an image. Imagine a sculptor pressing his chisel into stone. Each strike seems harsh. Each fragment seems like loss. Yet with every cut, a masterpiece begins to emerge. The weight of those blows is not destruction, it is transformation. That is your story. The Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." Your weight is not wasted. It is producing glory. What feels like crushing is creating capacity. What feels unbearable is stretching you for the crown that waits at the end. But I know there were days you asked why. Days when you wished to lay the burden down, when loneliness felt endless. Those moments were not signs of weakness. They were reminders you were never meant to carry it alone. Every sigh, every groan was heard by the one who lifts burdens without breaking bruised reeds. The truth is this: what you carry terrifies the enemy. He tried to silence you with weight, but instead, that very weight will become your testimony. You were not meant to hide under it. You were meant to rise with it, to show others that heaviness can be holy when placed in the hands of God. And here is where the story touches you deeply. The weight you carry is like a lantern in your hands. It shines brightest, not when hidden, but when lifted. Others walk in darkness, searching for a light to follow. When you raise your lantern, they find direction, hope, courage. So, if this word presses into your heart, let this be your act of lifting the lantern. Share this flame so another chosen one, staggering under their unseen weight, will realize they are not alone. If your spirit senses the truth of this moment, let your choice to subscribe be more than a click. Let it be the sculptor's strike shaping the community heaven is building. Let your voice of agreement, even in a simple act of liking this message, be like placing another stone into the rising altar of fire. Because when you like, share, and subscribe, it is not numbers, it is family. It is marked ones gathering. It is chosen ones lifting lanterns together until the night itself trembles. And in that union, the weight no longer crushes, it becomes glory shared. Chosen one. The weight you carry is the proof of your assignment. Lift it now, not as burden, but as testimony. For in carrying it together, heaven's masterpiece is revealed. Chosen one. You are standing in a moment of activation. Heaven has been nudging, whispering, stirring you through hidden battles and heavy weights. But now the call comes louder. This is not about hearing alone. It is about answering. Prophetic moments always demand a response. And this is one of them. When the Spirit of God hovered over the waters in Genesis, creation did not remain silent. At the sound of God's voice, light broke forth. The word was spoken, and the world responded. This same pattern echoes now. You have heard words pressed into your soul, but the time has come to release your answer back into heaven's chambers. It feels risky, doesn't it? To say yes when fear whispers no, to declare surrender when doubt demands silence. Yet the truth is this: hesitation is the enemy's favorite tool, but obedience is God's sharpest weapon. The difference between stepping into destiny and circling in delay is often one simple act of agreement. Think of Joshua standing before the Jordan River. The promise of a new land stretched out before him, but the waters stood in the way. God's command was clear: step in first, and the miracle would follow. Imagine the tension in that moment. Feet on dry ground, eyes on rushing currents. Yet when the priests carried the ark and touched the water, the river parted. The activation of faith unlocked the miracle. So it is with you. You are not called to wait for evidence. You are called to step with trust. The waters will not part until your foot moves. Let me offer you an image. Picture a key resting in your hand. For years, you've carried it, wondering what door it belongs to. It felt heavy, even useless at times. But today you stand before the door it was made for. All that's required is for you to lift your hand, place the key in the lock, and turn. That single act changes everything. The Apostle James wrote in his letter, chapter 2, verse 17, faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. This is heaven's reminder. Faith is not just believing in your heart, but moving with your feet. You do not prove faith by speaking alone. You prove it by stepping. Activation is the bridge between promise and possession. And now, here is how you step. I want you to declare your agreement by writing a prophetic number in the comments, 444. Why this number? Because 4 is the number of foundation, stability, and order. By writing 444, you are declaring, my foundation is the Lord. My house is built on his rock, and I choose alignment over delay. It is not superstition, it is symbolism. It is your public yes to the God who has been calling you privately. When you type 444, 3 things happen at once. Heaven sees it as faith. Earth witnesses it as testimony. Hell hears it as defiance. You are saying, my house will not fall. My heart will not waver. My future is anchored in God alone. Oh, chosen one. This is more than a comment. This is the touch of your foot upon the Jordan. This is the turning of the key in the lock. This is the step that shifts you from waiting into walking. Do not let hesitation rob you. Do not let fear convince you to stand still. You are ready. You are called. And heaven is watching for your answer. Step into this prophetic activation now. Release your declaration. Mark your yes. For when you move, the waters will part, the door will open, and the story of your obedience will ripple far beyond what you can see. The light in you terrifies darkness. Chosen one. That is why you have faced resistance that others cannot explain. Darkness has studied you, not because of who you are in the natural, but because of what you carry in the unseen. The radiance within you exposes shadows, and for this reason, warfare has been relentless. You may wonder why rooms grow tense when you walk in, why certain people resist you without cause, why atmospheres shift at your presence. It is not personality, it is presence. The oil upon you leaks into spaces, and darkness recognizes it long before people do. Think of Jesus walking into the synagogue in Capernaum. The moment his voice began to teach, a man with an unclean spirit cried out. The light confronted what had been hiding in shadows, and the darkness could no longer remain silent. In the same way, your life carries a disruption to what is unholy. You do not even have to speak, your very existence unsettles the plans of the enemy. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a lighthouse on a stormy night. Its beam cuts through the fog, warning ships of danger, guiding them safely to shore. The waves may crash against it. The winds may howl. But the light continues, piercing what darkness tries to conceal. That is you. The enemy throws storms, not to destroy you, but to silence the light. Yet the beam keeps shining, and those lost in shadow see the way because you remain. The Apostle Paul wrote in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 6, "For God, who said, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' made his light shine in our hearts to give us the light of the knowledge of God's glory in the face of Christ." This is the truth of your identity. The same voice that commanded light into existence has commanded light into you. That is why darkness trembles. That is why compromise cannot fit you. You are carrying divine brilliance, and shadows cannot coexist with it. I remember the story of a young man who tried to live quietly, avoiding notice. Yet everywhere he went, people confessed their struggles to him without knowing why. Strangers were drawn to him in grocery stores, on buses, in workplaces. At first, he resisted, wondering why he could not simply blend in, but slowly he realized the light inside him was a magnet. Those trapped in darkness saw in him a glimpse of freedom. He could not hide what heaven had placed within. Neither can you, chosen one. Your light is not accidental. It was never meant to remain hidden. Lamps are not placed under bowls, but on stands, where they give light to all. This is why your journey has been heavy. Why opposition rises against you. It is because the enemy knows the brightness you carry. But the very warfare you face proves your purpose. So walk boldly. When shadows gather, let them. When resistance rises, do not shrink. You are the lighthouse. You are the flame. And though the storm rages, the light that shines in you is not fragile. It is eternal. Even in your weakest hours, that light still burns. It does not depend on your feelings. It depends on the one who lit it within you. That is why even trembling hands still shine. And when you step into places saturated with despair, remember this: you are the dawn entering their night. Your presence alone prophesies that morning is coming. There are seasons when heaven grows silent. Chosen one. Prayers rise like incense, yet answers seem delayed. You lift your voice, but the sky feels brass. In these moments, you wonder if you have been forgotten. But silence is not abandonment. Silence is refinement. The silence of heaven is the furnace where trust is purified. It strips away the need for immediate proof and teaches you to love God for who He is, not only for what He gives. It is here that your faith becomes rooted, deeper than feelings, stronger than circumstances. Consider the story of Hannah. She prayed year after year for a child, while her rival mocked her. Heaven seemed unmoved. Yet in the silence, something was forming. Her persistence carved a space in her soul that could steward not just a son, but a prophet Samuel. who would anoint kings. The silence was shaping her into a vessel that could hold history. Or think of Jesus on the cross. For 3 hours, darkness covered the land. And his cry rang out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" The silence of the Father in that moment carried weight we cannot measure. Yet on the other side of silence came resurrection. If even the Son endured a holy hush, then your silence is not a curse, it is preparation for glory. Let me paint an image. Imagine a seed buried deep in soil. It looks forgotten, hidden under darkness, pressed down by weight. But beneath the silence of the earth, roots are pushing, life is forming, and in time, the seed will break through. Silence is not death, it is gestation. The prophet Habakkuk wrote, chapter 2, verse 3, "For the vision awaits an appointed time, though it lingers." Wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Do you see the wisdom in those words? Silence is not denial. It is delay with purpose. What you prayed for has not vanished into nothingness. It is waiting for its appointed time. And when that time comes, no power in hell can stop it. I once heard the story of a woman who prayed for her family's salvation for over 20 years. She saw no change, no evidence. At times, she wept, asking God if her prayers even mattered. But she did not stop. And in 1 year, suddenly, almost her entire household turned to Christ. The silence had been years of unseen work. And when the appointed time arrived, the breakthrough came like a flood. Chosen one. Do not despise the silence. It is the proving ground of faith. It is the place where you learn to cling to God's heart, not just His hand. Heaven's silence is the black canvas on which the brightest colors of glory will one day appear. So when prayers seem unanswered, stay. When the sky feels closed, worship anyway. Trust that silence is not God turning His back. It is God teaching your spirit to see beyond sound. For soon, the hush will break, and what emerges will be worth every waiting hour. Even silence itself is a language of heaven. It whispers patience, étreint discernement. It calls you deeper than surface faith. In the hush, you discover that His presence is not always loud, but it is always near. And when the stillness finally gives way, you will look back and realize the silence was not empty. It was pregnant with miracles. What you thought was delay was the soundless shaping of destiny. There comes a point, chosen one, when silence must end, when hidden battles must lead to visible choices. You cannot remain at the crossroads forever. A valley of decision stretches before you, and hesitation itself is already a decision. Heaven calls, darkness tempts, and your soul must answer. These moments are not casual. They are not the kind you brush aside, promising to return later. Prophetic crossroads arrive with weight, an intersection where your obedience today shapes your tomorrow. You may feel the tension in your chest even now, because your spirit knows eternity leans heavy on this moment. Think of Elijah standing on Mount Carmel before a wavering people. His voice thundered, "How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow Him." It was not a debate, not a suggestion. It was a call to choose. That same call resounds here. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot cling to both chains and crowns. Let me give you an image. Imagine standing on a railway platform. A train waits. steam rising, doors open, but it will not remain there forever. To stand still is to miss it. To step on is to move forward into places you have never seen. Crossroads work the same way. Delays eventually cost you the train of destiny. The Apostle Paul wrote in his first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 16, verse 13, "Be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong." This is not the language of hesitation. It is the language of decision. Strength is not found in knowing everything. It is found in planting your feet when the winds of compromise try to sway you. I once heard of a young man who wrestled with surrender. For years, he lived half in, half out, singing on Sunday, sinning on Monday. Yet the unrest never left him. One night, he fell to his knees and whispered, "No more half measures." That night changed everything. His yes unlocked a peace that compromise never gave him. Your story may feel similar. The unrest you carry is heaven reminding you. The middle ground is not home. And so, chosen one, this is your moment to speak. Do not overthink it. Do not analyze it. Let your spirit answer plainly. As one who knows the value of decision, I want you to type these words in the comments. I choose him. And why? Because every word is weighty in 3 realms. When you write it, heaven hears covenant, earth sees testimony, hell her defeat. These 3 words are simple, but they carry eternal echo. They are not filler text. They are the mark of your stance at the crossroads. Do not let this pass you by. Every prophecy leads to a point of action. Every call leads to a moment of response. And this is yours. Step forward boldly, for the train is waiting. And your decision will determine whether you ride into destiny or remain standing in hesitation. When you say, I choose him, you are not just agreeing with a phrase, you are cutting ties with indecision. You are declaring where your loyalty rests. It is a confession that places your life fully into God's hands. This moment is sacred because words shape reality. Your choice today defines the path you walk tomorrow. Speak it clearly. Write it boldly. And let heaven record your yes as the turning point of your story. Unmasking counterfeit voices is no small matter. Chosen one. The world around you is full of noise. Layers of whispers competing for your attention. Some sound holy. Some sound wise. Some even mimic the rhythm of Scripture. But not every voice comes from heaven. That is why discernment is a gift you cannot afford to neglect. Think of a shepherd's field. The sheep recognize the sound of their shepherd. A stranger may call in the same tone, may imitate the same whistle. But the sheep hesitate. Why? Because they know the difference not by the sound itself, but by the heart behind it. You, too, must learn to hear beyond tone. You must know the shepherd's voice. Not only the words that sound right. Counterfeit voices come like mirages in the desert. They promise water, promise relief, promise shortcuts. But when you run toward them, your hands grasp only sand. You leave thirstier than before. This is how deception works. It satisfies nothing but drains everything. The voice of God, however, does not lure you with illusions. It anchors you with truth that sustains even in famine. The Apostle John wrote in his first letter, chapter 4, verse 1, Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. Discernment is not suspicion. It is not a hardened heart. It is the ability to weigh voices against the eternal word, to sense whether a whisper carries peace or confusion, humility or pride, truth or distortion. The Spirit of God never contradicts Scripture, never manipulates, never flatters for selfish gain. He convicts but does not condemn, guides but does not enslave, leads but never deceives. Let me give you another image. Imagine a violin in an orchestra. Dozens of instruments play, and the hall is full of sound. Yet the violinist tunes her strings not by guessing, but by striking the right note against a tuning fork. The fork never changes. Pitch, it is constant. That fork is the Word of God. When life grows noisy, you must place every voice against its frequency. If it vibrates in harmony, you know it is true. If it grates with dissonance, you know it is counterfeit. I remember hearing of a woman who was swept into teachings that promised prosperity with no sacrifice, blessings with no obedience. At first it sounded like freedom, but soon she was bound tighter by greed and fear. Only when she returned to Scripture did she realize the voice she had followed was a mask. She said later, "The difference between truth and counterfeit is not always volume but fruit. What bears life is God. What drains me is not." End of Chosen one. This is why discernment matters. Not every light is pure. Not every word trustworthy. Not every path leads to life. You are called to weigh carefully, to hold fast to what is eternal, to silence what seeks to deceive. And here is where your response becomes part of the journey. When you like this message, you are placing a stone on the altar of truth. When you share it, you are extending a lantern to another traveler, warning them of counterfeits. When you subscribe, you are choosing to walk with a flock that trains its ears for the true shepherd's voice. It is not compulsion, it is invitation. An orchestra sounds more beautiful when many instruments are tuned together. A lighthouse shines brighter when more lamps are lit along the coast. A family grows stronger when voices unite under truth. So consider this your tuning moment, your act of harmony. Like, share, subscribe, not as routine, but as declaration. I choose the true voice. I choose to tune my life to the eternal word. For in doing so, you lift your lantern higher, and together we drown out the counterfeit with the chorus of the chosen. Your pain was never wasted. Chosen one. It was not random, not meaningless. It has been prophecy in disguise, a message written through your tears, a testimony being formed through your wounds. What broke you was also shaping you. What cut you was also carving you. Think back to the darkest valleys you walked through, the betrayals that left you speechless, the nights you cried until your chest ached, the moments you asked if you would ever stand again. Those valleys were not detours, they were milestones. Each scar you carry is a marker of prophecy fulfilled in advance. Consider Joseph once more, sitting in the pit dug by his brothers. To anyone looking on, it appeared like rejection, abandonment, the end of promise. Yet, in truth, the pit was a stepping stone. His pain spoke of future authority, even when he could not see it. The same is true for you. Your rejection has been a rehearsal for elevation. Let me paint an image. Imagine glass shattered across a floor. To the untrained eye, it is worthless, broken beyond repair. But in the hands of an artist, Those same fragments become a mosaic pieces, joined together to form something more beautiful than the glass ever was before. Your pain is like that. Fragments in your life are becoming mosaics of glory. The Apostle Peter wrote in his first letter, chapter 1, verse 6 and 7, "Now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed." Do you hear it? Your suffering is not wasted. It is purifying your faith, making it more precious than gold, preparing you for glory, yet unseen. Even your lowest moments have been shaping a testimony that will one day silence the enemy. I once heard of a woman who endured years of illness that left her body weak and her spirit weary. Friends abandoned her. Prayers seemed unanswered, and despair crept close. But through her pain, she began to write words of encouragement, birthed not from theory, but from survival. Those words spread far beyond her own reach, carrying hope to thousands. Her pain became prophecy, declaring life into others, even while she was still walking through her valley. Chosen one, your pain has carried the same weight. Every loss, every wound, every silence has been speaking of a future you cannot yet see. What you thought was the end has been the prelude. What you thought was death has been the soil for resurrection. Let me give you one more image. Imagine a seed pressed deep into the earth. It must split open, break apart, before life emerges. The breaking is not the end, it is the beginning. Your pain has been the cracking of the shell, the necessary fracture before the bloom. So do not despise your scars. Do not curse your seasons of pain. They have been prophecy, declaring over you, glory is coming. Resurrection is near. Your story is not finished. Every scar is not just a reminder of survival, it is a roadmap of purpose. Each one points toward the destiny your suffering has been shaping in secret. And when the time comes, you will see that pain was not the thief of your story, it was the prophet that announced your rising. There are moments when heaven marks you with a seal. Chosen one, not with ink, not with stone, but with spirit. It is a seal that testifies, this one belongs to me. It is not visible to natural eyes, but all of heaven and hell recognize it. The seal sets you apart, empowers you, and secures you for the mission ahead. Think of the early church in the book of Acts. Men and women once timid, once ordinary, suddenly filled with fire. Their words cut hearts. Their hands healed the sick. Their very shadows carried power. What changed? They were sealed with the Spirit. The invisible mark became undeniable evidence of God's presence within them. You, too, are invited to carry that same seal. It is not earned by striving, nor bought by sacrifice of silver or gold. It is given freely to those who surrender, those who say yes without hesitation. The seal confirms that you are chosen, not by men, but by God Himself. Let me offer you an image. Picture wax dripping onto parchment, pressed by a royal signet ring. The moment the ring touches the wax, ownership is declared, authority is conferred, and no one can question whose decree it is. In the same way, heaven has pressed its signet upon your life. When God seals you, no voice of darkness can unmark you. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Ephesians, chapter 1, Verse 13, when you believed, you were marked in him with a seal, the promised Holy Spirit. This seal is not a symbol alone, it is power. It is the Spirit who whispers when you are tempted, who strengthens when you are weary, who reminds you that you are never abandoned. The seal means you carry heaven inside. Even while walking on earth, I once heard of a man who struggled for years, tossed by fear and shame. He believed in God, but never felt secure. Then one night, in prayer, he sensed something shift. A peace settled in his chest, unshakable and deep. From that night forward, his faith carried a boldness he never knew before. He said, "It was as if heaven stamped me with ownership, and fear no longer had legal rights over me." That is the reality of being sealed. Chosen one. This is the hour to embrace that seal for yourself. It is not enough to hear about it. You must claim it, carry it, and let it define you. As a prophetic act, I want you to comment the number 888. Why 888? Because 8 is the number of new beginnings. 888 is heaven's echo, newness multiplied, covenant renewed, life overflowing. By writing 888, you are declaring, "I am sealed for a new season. My past no longer owns me. I step into divine beginnings, marked by the Spirit." Type it boldly. Let it be your agreement. For when you release this number, you are not just writing digits, you are stamping your yes, aligning with heaven's seal, and testifying that you are marked for more. When you declare 888, you are saying that cycles of failure, fear, and shame end here. 8 is the turning of the page, and 888 means the page is turned permanently, sealed with heaven's confirmation. And more than that, 888 speaks of resurrection life. Jesus himself rose on the first day of a new week, a picture of eternal new beginnings. By typing it, you are connecting your story to his and declaring that the same resurrection power rests on you. You are a warring flame. Chosen one. You were never designed to be passive, never intended to sit quietly while darkness rages. You carry within you a fire that is both weapon and witness. It burns not only to warm, but to fight. And whether you realize it or not, every step you take has already been on a battlefield. The battles you face are not against flesh and blood. They are not simply conflicts with people, disappointments, or circumstances. Behind every trial lies a deeper war. Light and darkness collide in unseen realms, and your life stands as a torch, declaring which side will win. This is why the fight around you has felt relentless, because you are not ordinary ground. You are territory heaven and hell both contend for. Think of Gideon, hiding in the winepress, weary and fearful. Yet heaven called him a mighty warrior before he ever picked up a sword. His doubts did not erase his destiny. His hesitation did not cancel his commission. And when he finally rose, torches in clay jars lit up the night, sending entire armies fleeing in terror. The light of his obedience became a weapon. So it is with you. Let me give you an image. Picture a single match struck in a cave. At first, it seems small, fragile, yet in absolute darkness, even the smallest flame dominates. Shadows scatter, walls come alive, and fear loses its grip. That is what you carry. Your flame may feel small, but in the kingdom of God, small light terrifies vast darkness. The Apostle Paul wrote in his second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 10, verse 4, "The weapons we fight with are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds." This is your reality. Your weapon is not the sword of man, but the fire of the Spirit. Your prayers, though whispered, shake foundations. Your worship, though offered in weakness, thunders louder than war drums in heavenly places. The enemy trembles not because of you, but because of the fire you carry. I once heard of a young believer who struggled with constant nightmares. Every night he woke in fear, convinced he was powerless. But one evening, exhausted, he prayed a simple prayer before bed. "Jesus, fill this room with your fire." That night, the fear fled. He slept in peace. And from then on, his nights shifted. The flame within him grew, and darkness lost its grip. That story is not rare. It is the pattern of every chosen one who realizes they are flame bearers. Chosen one, your fire is not fragile, it is forged. Trials have been the furnace, battles the bellows, suffering the spark. Every season that tried to extinguish you only stoked your flame hotter. That is why you have not burned out. That is why, though weary, you are still here, because your fire is not your own. It is heaven's deposit in you. Let me offer you one more image. Think of a blacksmith's forge. Metal placed in fire glows brighter with each strike. The hammering seems violent, the heat unbearable. Yet the result is a weapon sharp and enduring. That is your story. Life's blows have not destroyed you. They have shaped you into a weapon that carries fire. So, do not despise the war. You were born for it. You are not merely surviving battles, you are advancing kingdoms. Every prayer, every stand, every flicker of faith is a strike against darkness. You are a warring flame, chosen not to flicker, but to blaze until the night itself is undone. Breaking generational darkness is not easy. Chosen one. It requires courage to confront what others tolerated, to stand against shadows that have lingered for decades, even centuries. You were not placed in your family line by chance. You were planted as a breaker, a torchbearer, one who refuses to let history repeat itself. Look closely, and you will see the patterns, cycles of addiction, fear, poverty, anger, rejection threads woven through generations, past like inheritance. Some call it personality, some call it fate, but in the spirit it is bondage. And you, chosen one, were called to interrupt it. Think of Abraham. His father, Terah, worshipped idols, but God called Abraham to leave his father's house, to walk into a land unknown, to become the father of nations. He broke away from the old so a new covenant could begin. One obedient step rewrote the story of countless descendants. That is what breaking generational darkness looks like, choosing light where darkness ruled. Let me give you an image. Imagine a river flowing downhill, carrying debris from ages past. Every generation adds to it, the current growing heavier. But then, a great stone falls into the stream. Water hits it, splits, and changes course. You are that stone. Your stand in God alters the flow. What once seemed unstoppable is redirected, creating streams of life instead of destruction. The prophet Nahum wrote, chapter 1, verse 9, "Whatever they plot against the Lord, he will bring to an end. Trouble will not come a second time." This is heaven's promise to you. The cycle that crushed your family does not have to crush you. The chains that held your parents do not have to bind your children. When you rise, the plot of darkness ends, and a new chapter begins. I once heard of a man whose family carried anger like blood in their veins. Fights, broken marriages, estrangement generation after generation. He feared he would repeat the same pattern, but when he surrendered his life to God, something shifted. His words grew softer, his hands steadier, his home peaceful. Years later, his children testified they never knew the rage that haunted their father's youth. He was the stone in the river, and because of his stand, the flow changed. Chosen one. This is the weight and privilege of your call. Breaking darkness is costly, but it is glorious. It means saying no when others say yes. It means enduring loneliness when compromise would win you friends. But your obedience is never only for you, it is for every life connected to yours. Let me give you another image. Picture a torch lit in a pitch-black cave. Behind you are generations who never saw light. Before you are generations waiting to be born. If you let your torch die, the cave remains dark. But if you keep it burning, the path ahead blazes with hope. So take courage. You were not sent to repeat what was before. You were sent to dismantle it, to be the interruption, the breaker, the one who says, "It ends with me." For when you rise, the curse bows, and the future shines brighter than the past. Your yes is the sword that severs chains older than you, what others feared to face. You were born to destroy, and in your obedience, future generations will call you blessed. They will walk in freedom because you dared to break what once felt unbreakable. A kingdom call is sounding. Chosen one. This is not the call of men, not the noise of culture, but the trumpet of heaven summoning the marked ones to rise together. You are not meant to walk as an isolated flame. You are meant to burn with others until the night itself is swallowed by light. The kingdom of God does not advance through one solitary soldier. It advances when chosen ones gather shoulder to shoulder, carrying the same fire, lifting the same banner, declaring the same allegiance. Alone, you are strong. Together, you are unstoppable. Think of Joshua at Jericho. The walls did not fall because one voice shouted, but because an entire people lifted their cries as one. Unity released what individual effort never could. That is what happens when you link your light with others. Barriers fall. Cities shake. Darkness surrenders. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a single candle in a vast cathedral. Its flame flickers bravely, but barely dents the darkness. Now imagine 1,000 candles lit one by one. Suddenly, the entire hall glows. Shadows retreat, and beauty is revealed. That is what happens when you join your flame to the family of chosen ones. The writer to the Hebrews reminds us, chapter 10, verse 24 and 25. Let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, but encouraging one another. Your call is not only personal, it is communal. You are sealed. Yes. You are marked. Yes. But the kingdom is built when sealed ones unite, when marked ones lift their torches together. This is why your alignment matters. I once heard of a young woman who struggled with her faith alone. She read, she prayed, but the weight of battles wore her down. Then she found a small circle of believers who carried the same fire week after week. They prayed, sang, and encouraged each other. What once felt unbearable became lighter. She said, "It was as though my single flame was swallowed into a bonfire. And suddenly I realized I was never meant to burn alone." And chosen one. This is the beauty of kingdom community. Every like, every word shared, every step of agreement is not just digital, it is prophetic. It is another flame added to the cathedral of light, another torch raised against the night. So hear this in metaphor, not demand. When you like this message, you are striking a match that keeps the fire alive. When you share it, you are handing a lantern to another traveler in the dark. When you subscribe, you are placing your candle into the grand cathedral, ensuring the light grows stronger. And even more when you comment. Write, "I burn bright." By doing so, you are not just leaving text, you are chiseling your agreement into the altar stones. Your words become a prophecy that darkness cannot silence. Imagine with me, a coastline battered by storms, lighthouses scattered along the shore. One alone may flicker, but when all shine together, the sea itself cannot hide its dangers. Sailors find their way home. That is what happens when you take your place. This is a kingdom call, and your heart knows it. Step into the harmony. Add your flame to the symphony of fire. For when chosen ones gather, the night has no chance. There is a crown prepared for you. Chosen one. Not one fashioned by human hands. Not a reward that tarnishes with time, but a glory woven in eternity, waiting for the moment of your obedience. You were not created for survival alone. You were destined for coronation. The choices you make in the hidden place, the yes you give when no one is watching, the surrender you live out daily, all of it is shaping the crown set apart for your head. Think of Esther. She was once an orphan, hidden and overlooked. Yet, in due season, her obedience positioned her as queen. Her crown was not simply jewelry, it was the sign of assignment. It symbolized her readiness to risk everything for her people. Without her obedience, her crown would have been meaningless. With her obedience, her crown became deliverance. So it is with you. The crown awaiting you is not for display, but for duty. It is not simply a symbol of honor, but of responsibility. Heaven crowns only those who bow, because only the bowed heart can carry the weight of glory without pride. Let me give you an image. Imagine a tree bowed under the weight of ripe fruit. To some, the bending looks like weakness, but in truth, it is evidence of abundance. In the same way, the humility of your obedience is the branch bending low to carry the harvest. Your crown is not for vanity, it is the fruit of surrender. The Apostle James wrote in his letter, chapter 1, verse 12, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life." This is the promise before you. Trials do not come to strip you of destiny, they come to prove you ready for it. Every test you endure, every fire you survive, every storm you weather is polishing the crown prepared for your life. I recall the story of a man who labored in obscurity for decades. He worked with little recognition, prayed in secret, gave generously, though few noticed. He often wondered if his life mattered. Yet near the end of his days, he saw the ripple of his obedience, families transformed, generations shifted, communities changed. His crown was not measured in applause, but in eternal impact. Chosen one, your obedience now is doing the same. You may not see the fullness yet, but heaven sees every act. The smallest yes, the quiet surrender, the hidden prayer. All of it is a thread in the crown being woven for you. Let me paint another image. Imagine a runner pressing through the final stretch of a marathon. Sweat burns, lungsache, legs tremble. Yet the crown awaits at the finish line. Every painful step is one closer to victory. You, too, are in that final stretch. The crown is not far. And this is the truth. Crowns are not placed on the heads of the hesitant. They rest on those who endure. They belong to those who, even when weary, refuse to quit. They are for those who choose obedience when rebellion seems easier, who keep walking when standing still feels safer. So, lift your eyes. The crown is near. It glimmers just beyond the trials, just beyond the tests, waiting for your steadfast yes. And when it is placed upon you, all of heaven will testify, this one endured, this one obeyed, this one was faithful to the end. Chosen one, wear your obedience now, for your crown tomorrow depends on it. There is a final warning and a final blessing. Chosen one, a moment when the weight of destiny and the urgency of decision meet. Life and death are set before you, glory and ruin laid side by side. And heaven whispers, choose carefully. The prophets of old spoke with trembling voices because they knew the stakes. They were not casual with their words, for each syllable carried eternal consequence. You now stand in that same tension. The word that has been chasing you through these moments is not entertainment. It is the sound of eternity knocking on your heart. Think of Israel standing between two mountains, hearing Moses declare, I set before you today life and death, blessing and curse. The choice was theirs, but the outcome was unshakable. In the same way, you cannot remain neutral forever. Delay is itself a decision. Indifference is itself a direction. The valley of decision does not stretch endlessly. Eventually, the moment closes, and your choice is sealed. Let me give you an image. Imagine a door standing open at the end of a hallway. Light floods through, beckoning you forward. But slowly, the hinges begin to creak, the gap narrowing. You cannot linger at a distance, assuming the door will remain forever open. To enter, you must walk now. To hesitate is to risk watching the door close with you, still outside. The Apostle Paul wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 2, Now is the time of God's favor. Now is the day of salvation. Do you feel the urgency in those words? Not tomorrow, not one day, but now. The opportunity before you is holy, fragile, and weighty. This is not about fear, it is about truth. Heaven is not threatening you, it is inviting you to life. But to reject the invitation is to embrace darkness by default. I once heard the story of a man who lived chasing pleasure. ignoring every nudge of God. Friends prayed. Warnings came, but he silenced them with laughter. Years later, lying in a hospital bed, he whispered, "I thought I had more time." His words haunt like thunder because they echo the danger of delay. Chosen one, you cannot afford to repeat his mistake, but there is blessing. 2. For those who choose rightly, who step through the narrowing door, who place their yes in God's hands, a future unfolds that no darkness can cancel. Even when storms rage, their feet are planted on rock. Even when enemies rise, their crown awaits. The final blessing is not just survival, it is eternal life. Radiant glory, peace beyond comprehension. Let me give you another image. Imagine a crown of gold placed into fire. At first, the flames lick and scorch. But when pulled out, the crown gleams brighter, purer, untouchable. That is the destiny of those who endure, who choose life over compromise. Trials do not strip them, trials refine them. The blessing is not fragile, it is everlasting. Chosen one. The weight of this hour cannot be overstated. Heaven bends low, watching. Angels pause, listening. Even creation groans, waiting for your decision. Life and death stand before you, and while mercy still lingers, the call is clear. Choose life. Choose obedience. Choose the path carved out for you since the foundation of the world. For the warning is this: the door does not stay open forever, and the blessing is this: if you walk through, nothing can take you from his hand. The end of hesitation is the beginning of glory, and eternity itself will call your name among the faithful who chose wisely. Chosen one. The journey through these words has not been casual. From the wake-up call to the final blessing, heaven has been speaking. Every image, every story, every verse was a seed planted in your spirit. Now the choice rests in your hands. You have heard the call to rise, to step away from hesitation, to walk into the life prepared for you. You have been reminded of scars that prophesy, of battles that refine, of crowns that await. This is not the end of a message. It is the beginning of a movement inside you. And here is the beauty. You do not walk alone. When you like this message, it is as though you are striking a spark against flint, keeping the flame alive. When you share it, you are passing a torch to another weary traveler who needs light on their path. When you comment, you carve your agreement into the altar of eternity, leaving behind a testimony for others to see. And when you subscribe, you are joining a family of burning ones who carry the same fire, a cathedral of voices lifting the same song. These are not small acts. They are echoes of agreement, ripples in eternity, reminders that your flame belongs to something greater than yourself. So step forward freely, add your spark, pass your torch, carve your testimony, join the family, not because you must, but because it is beautiful to walk together. Chosen one, this is your moment to declare, the journey does not end here. The fire continues, the crown awaits, and the night cannot overcome the rising light.